But let's speak now to our next guest, who is Denis Franceskin, who represents Marine Le Pen's party abroad. Looks like you're in for a pretty disappointing night.
A little bit, of course. We were expecting to win. However, she was only one candidate against Macron, who gathered like so many people around him, and she still gathered like more than 30%. I mean, so it's in defeat. It's still a significant victory in terms of how many millions of people are now voting for her.
Do you think that this is the end of Marine Le Pen's leadership of the party? It's the third time, isn't it, that she has attempted to win the French presidency. Will it be the last?
She mentioned that running third presidential campaign is exhausting. So I mean, I don't think she will run a fourth time. However, I think she will still be involved in politics. I mean, obviously she has she's a strong personality. She's a strong political figure. So I'm sure she will be involved in the next election, next few years. But in terms of another presidential campaign, I'm not sure right now.
What do you think will happen to the far right in France as well? Because Marine Le Pen, of course, went some way to soften the image of the far right, talking more about the cost of living, for example, rather than some of the more hardline policies on immigration. But then at the same time, there are challenges in that space, aren't there? If you look at the performance of Zemmour, for example, in the first round, how do you think the far right is going to react?
I mean, she was talking. I mean, and her party was talking about subject like immigration that could be considered as far right, was like decades ago. But now all the political parties agree that there's issue in terms of security, in terms of deregulated immigration. So because of that, she was able to talk about other topics. I think that candidates that will only stay on issue about immigration, for instance, I don't think there's a win in that. I think you need to talk about different topics. And when you look at the polls, obviously, the cost of living, the power of purchasing was very, very important for the past 5 years, with Emmanuel Macron like destroying, basically, everyday life people, every working person had a hard time to live during those 5 years. So I think the angle she chose about, putting, or I would say most of her program into the cost of living, I think that was a very smart move. Of course, we still have to talk about immigration. We still have to talk about, those topics, but it's not just one topic. We need to talk about a lot of different things.
Eric Zemmour, who we were just talking about, the kind of right-wing polemicist, he got 7.1% of the vote in the first round, has come out to say that the nationalist movement must join forces. In his words, we can't win without alliances. Do you think that view is now going to become part of the mainstream thinking in the right, that they need to join forces and that it's a fractured right that won't be able to win?
Well, it all depends how we define, the right wing. I mean, if being from the right means that you don't care about social, you don't care about cost of living, then of course this option will lead to nothing, will lead to nowhere. If being a strong right wing person means also that you're gonna care about the cost of living and care about people who are suffering on I would say on a social standpoint, then this angle is for sure the one that will be winning in the next few years, because that's people in France now, they want security. Whether it's an institutional security or social security, they want to be able to work, they want to be able to live decently. So you need to combine those elements, and I think defining this policy as right wing or extreme right wing, I think is definitely passé. I think we're now in a complete different scenario with people who, let's say, are the globalists and they live fine that way, and you have the rest of population that are struggling, and those people unfortunately are completely unheard. Even the people who voted for Mélenchon, they are very close in terms of the program to what Marine was saying during the campaign. So I think there will be a lot of movements from that standpoint, in the combination of what we can call the right values with the social values.
It's interesting what you say about the similarities there between the far left and far right, and you're right, of course, to say that the interventionism of Le Pen and Mélenchon is actually quite similar. Do you think that actually in France it's more of a movement away from the establishment that we're seeing?
Yeah, and look, if you look at the poll, and if you look at who voted for Macron in the first round, and I'm sure we're going to have the same result, for today, is you have the students and those who still live with mom and dad, and the retirees vote massively for Macron. In other words, those who are not in the working system yet, or those who have worked in the 70s or the 80s, where the situation was completely different, and those who voted for Marine Le Pen, where I would say the French from like the 25 years old to 55, were those who are actually still working and they're experiencing the harsh cost of living. So that's why I believe that the next angle in terms of how the society in France will evolve is definitely by combining those two key elements.
Okay, thank you very much for coming on Sky News and sharing your thoughts. Thank you.